Good morning, everyone. Now let's talk about kinds of proportion. Okay. But before we dig deeper into kinds of proportion, I have here an object, please. Okay. First is identify the kinds of proportion. Next is solve problems involving direct partitive, inverse, and direct proportions. And then the last one is to recognize the kinds of proportion. Now there are three kinds of proportion. First is the direct proportion, second is the partitive, and the last one is the inverse. Okay, first is direct proportion. Proportion is as one value increases, the other value also increases. Just like for example, if the candy is 1 peso and then you're gonna buy 2 candies, so you're gonna pay 2 peso. Like if you add one value and then it will increase the other value also. Next is the partitive. So a partitive is used to if a whole is divided into two or more unequal parts. So there are two persons, they have 10 pesos. And then they ilaha nga tuhaon ang kwarta nga naan nila. So tag 5 sila. So that is an example of a partitive proportion, which is a whole is divided into half or into or more equal parts. Just like, for example, okay. So there are three siblings, si Heart, si Dear, and si Candy. So they will divide the 1,000 in the ratio of 2, 3, and 5 respectively, and then how much Candy will get. Now let's solve. So si Heart na siya ay 2 part. Dear na 3. And then scale D. Kahit 235 man siya nga ratio. Now, in 1,000, there are 10 units. In 1 unit, there are 100. Okay. So in 10 units na ay 1,000. So in 1 unit, there are 100. So kaya ang candy, yung unit is 5. So 5 units. So we divide the 5. We times the 5 into tag 100. So si candy na siya ay equal part nga 500. So therefore, candy will receive a 500 peso. So that's an example of partitive proportion. The whole is divided into 2 or more equal parts. So next is the inverse proportion. So inverse proportion is an increase in one quantity results to a decrease in another quantity. Just like for example, okay, just like for example, okay, just like for example, a number of workers and a time to complete their job. So there are 2 workers and they need 12 hours to work again. So in 2 workers, they have 6 hours to complete their time. And then in 4 workers, they have 3 hours and to complete that 12 hours. So, an increase in one quantity results to a decrease in another quantity. Kung daghan mga workers, mas dali mahuman ang inyong mga work or dali mahuman ang usa ka trabaho kung daghan mo nga magtabang. Na siya inverse proportion. Next, we have Now, let's proceed to the visualization of percent. But before we dig deeper into visualization of percent, I have here an objectives that we need to achieve. At the end of the lesson, the student will be able to identify percent, fractions, and decimals. Next is to solve word problems involving visualization of percent and recognize the importance of converting between different forms of numbers. So it is very important for you children to know how to visualize and how to form a number or how to convert decimals into fraction. And now let us know what is percent. Okay, now percent or the word percent comes from the Latin word percento, or which means per hundred or for every 100. Alright, so the symbol of percent is like this. This is the symbol of percent. Right, that is the symbol of percent. Now, let us know what are the different forms of visualization and numbers. Okay, now let's move on to converting percent to fraction. Okay, to convert a percent to a fraction, we multiply the number of percent to the value of the percent sign, or which is 1/100, then expressed in simplest form. Just like for example here, we have 25%. Okay, 25%. Then we're going to remove the percent sign. So, we need to remove the percent sign too, and then we need to convert this percent sign into 100. So, we write here 100. Okay. Of 1/4. Okay, so we have now the 1/4. It is the fraction of 25%. So 25% and so 25 is equivalent into when we convert into fraction the 25%, it is into 1/4. Next. Okay. Now let's move on to converting a fraction into percent. Okay, it is one method to convert a fraction to percent is to finally express it as a decimal using the following steps. So first step is divide the numerator by the denominator and then multiply by 100 and then affix the percent sign. So just like for example, we have here a fraction 1/4. Then we divide the numerator by the denominator. So 1 divided by 4 is equals to 0.25%. And then need to multiply this percent into 100. Okay. 0.25 times 100. Okay, 0.25 times 100 is equals to 25%. Okay, it is 25%. So therefore, okay, so therefore, 1/4 is equals to 25%. Next is, because we are done with a fraction into percent, let's move on to converting decimal to percent. Okay, converting decimal to percent. Okay, to express a percent as decimal, we divide by 100. And then to express a decimal as percent, we therefore do the inverse operation, which is katong katuluhon siya or kanang mo increase iya nga quantity, and then the quality decreases. Another quantity is decreases quantity, which is multiplication by 100. We need to multiply by 100. For example, we have the 100. Or again, let's use again the 25%. Since this is a decimal to percent. Okay. So we have the 0.25. So we have number 0.25, and then we multiply this into 100 times 100. So we have here a decimal. So 0.25, and then we multiply it into 100, and then we add the percent sign. 0.25 times 100 is equals to 25%, and then we just copy the percent. So we have 25%. So 0.25 or the decimal 0.25, okay. So converting the 0.25, our decimal, when we times it into 100, and then we gonna get a 25%. So this is our decimal, and then this is our percent. Next is converting percent into decimal. Ato na po balihon. So we divide the number by 100 and drop the percent symbol. For instance, 10%. So is equal to 10 over 100. Since percent is represent as 100. So we have here 100. We have here 10. We have here 10%. So it's equal to 10 over 100, which is 0.10 or 0.1 in decimal. Converting percent to ratio. Okay. Converting percent to ratio is to express a percent as ratio. So ratio is like this. Like this. 1 to the ratio of 2. That is ratio. And then the number of percent becomes the first term of the ratio, while the second term is always 100. Just like for example, we have, so since this is a percent, so we need to write here, for example, 25%. 25%. And then we need to get the 25%, or we need to get the percent. Ito siyang kwaon ang percent, and then ito siya nga i-transform into, or ito siya nga i-times into 100. Next is we need to divide the 25 into 100. So 25 divided by 100 is equals to 1/4. So 1/4 can also be into, pwede siya nga mahimo nga ratio. Or 1/4. Okay, so 25%, and then we convert percent into 100, and then we divided into we divide the numerator by the denominator, and then we have the 1 to the ratio of 4. Since we divided by 25 divided by 100 is equals to 1/4, or we can convert it into ratio, like 1 to the ratio of 4, or 1/4. The last one is converting a ratio into percent. So ato na po nga i-convert ang ratio into percent. So a ratio may be expressed as percent by converting it to a decimal. Then we need to multiply the result by 100. Just like for example, so we have here na naman tayo ratio diri nga 1 to the ratio of 4, and then we copy the 1 to the ratio of 4. And then we convert it into, we divided by the numerator and then the denominator. 1 divided by 4 is equals to 0.25 is equals to 0.25. And then we need to multiply the 20.25 into 100 to get the percent. So we multiply the 0.25 into 100. So 0.25 times 100 is equals to 25%. That's it. Now, learning numbers is very important because it is very important to know this visualization of percent for us to know how to recognize and how we convert money.